Testing. Okay. Hello, greetings. What's happening? Fuji, I don't know if you watched the live feed from Fuji yesterday in Japan. It lasted, I don't know, like an hour and a half or something. It was a live feed from Fuji. It's not available for download now that I know of, but they introduced their X Pro 2, which is basically their souped-up rangefinder camera with the world's first hybrid viewfinder, which is both typical rangefinder window and also projection for other options. But it does have a dual card slot and their new X-Trans sensor, which is a 24 megapixel sensor. So there are certain things now that we know, of course, not that they announced it in this, but it's been confirmed that the XT-2 will be announced in June of this year, that we can say retroductively a few positive things about what the XT-2 is going to be with near 100% certainty. Just as the XT1 has the same processor and image sensor as the XT10, it will be the case that the Fuji XT2 will have the same 24 megapixel X-Trans sensor. It could have a larger buffer, but it will also have a dual card slot. It is almost certain that exactly like the X Pro 2 relative to the X Pro 1, that the Fuji XT2 will be very, very slightly larger, but not really noticeable unless you're comparing the two side by side. We're talking about a few millimeters more in depth and in width, and in breadth. It is also the case that, like the Fuji X Pro 2 was announced at $1,600, while currently the XT1 just got off sale at $1,000, is back to $1,300. The XT2 plus or minus $300 should be right at $1,800 or $1,900. It could be as high as $1,999. It's not going to be priced over $2,000 to be certain. I don't see any possibility on this earth that the XT2 is going to be less than like $1,800, say $1,799. So it's going to fall between $1,800 and $2,000 with near certainty. There's a psychological barrier at $2,000 that it's not going to go over that. It's not going to be over $2,000 to be certain, and it is definitely not going to be priced at the same price as the X Pro 2. If someone's got the choice, then they're going to say, well, the XT2 is the same price as the X Pro 2, and this is a more modular setup than a rangefinder. Most people would rather have this than the rangefinder X Pro 2, which is $1,600. So it's definitely going to be between $1,800 and $2,000. So we know it's going to have a 24 megapixel sensor, obviously probably a larger buffer. Larger buffer than the X Pro 2. Now someone's going to say, oh, you're just speculating out your ass. No, there are certain things we know. It's going to be announced in June. It's going to have the same 24 megapixel X-Trans sensor as found in the X Pro 2. We do know for a fact that it's going to have two card slots, two SD card slots, because if you think they're going to release their flagship mirrorless with an inferior design compared to the rangefinder X Pro 2 that they just released, then you are definitely smoking crack. So we can say with certainty that it is going to have that same sensor. Dual card slot is going to be between $1,800 and $2,000. There may be an additional button or two. It's certainly going to have faster acquisition time, and it's going to have, I know for a fact also, it's going to have a vastly improved continuous autofocus. That is unquestionable, absolutely unquestionable. It's going to have slightly better video, not that I give a damn about video, and Fuji themselves last night said that they're not concentrated in being a megapixel wars with other people, and of course they're referring to Sony. There's actually a link, and ask me for it, and I'll actually show you how the Fuji XT1 actually in low light and pushing does a lot better job than the Sony A7R does. Amusingly, last night Fuji very amusingly. They kept talking about their X Pro 2, and of course the Japanese love their beer. They kept, it was weird, the president or the COO of Fuji kept showing these diagrams comparing the X Pro 2 to the weight of a can of beer, and then there was another analogy where he talks about the Fuji X Pro 2 with a lens, and it was on a teeter-totter, and there's another analogy of the weight of that compared to 2 cans of beer. And yeah, if you don't know the Japanese very well, they're hardcore beer lovers. You'd think it was Americans, but man, the Japanese really. So that was kind of interesting watching it. They probably shouldn't have done that. That makes it seem like the people at Fuji are drunk, but it was certainly humorous. But so we can say a few definite things now about the XT2, which will be announced in June. We know what the sensor is going to be. We know it's going to have a dual card slot. You know, I'm right on the money. It's going to be between $1,800 and $2,000. It's going to have faster continuous autofocus. It's going to have a larger buffer, a couple more frames per second to be certain, to be absolutely certain. They'll add another button or two, and there'll be some really tiny frou-frou features. But most of those features have already been introduced in the released 4.2 firmware, but that was retracted, but is going to be released again since it had a minor bug in continuous autofocus with some lenses, rarely. That's going to be re-released here in the next week or two. So a lot of those tweaks that I actually showed you in a prior video, how I can machine gun shot in continuous high using an external flash, external speed light. So that's what the XT2 is going to be. Very slightly larger, a lot faster, certainly a bit more expensive, and it's going to be a 24 megapixel with dual card SD slots. So that's what the XT2 is going to be, and mark my word on this, and I will be right on all of that. And I know it's not going to be over $2,000. It's just not going to be. And I'm right on the sensor, I'm right on the dual card slot, I'm right on the continuous autofocus. Vast improvements, because Fuji's been hardcore concentrated on that. They knew that was a weak point. Everybody pointed it out to them. I never gave a damn about continuous autofocus. And I was, you know, even with you know, high-end Nikon cameras, I never, you know, 99% of the time I never really gave a damn about continuous autofocus. So anyway, that's it, and thanks for watching. Okay, catch you later. Bye.